NASCAR talk and NHRA talk. And we have a full lineup of guests tonight that I think everybody's going to be pretty excited about. I know that some of our panel has already called in, so I'm going to let's go ahead and start introducing them. I know Sal Segala, my co-host. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you doing, Sharon?
We're doing great. Did you make it home in time?
Actually, I did. I got home in time to take a small nap, and then after the show, I take one more nap before I have to go to work tonight.
Wow. Well, we're glad you're able to make it with us, Sal. And then also with us is Jason, one of our Fan4Racing writers. Hi, Jason. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
We're doing great. Really excited about our guest lineup tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. So, and then we have another caller on the line. You are on the air with Fan4Racing.
Hey there, it's Kelly Admiraal.
Kelly, it's great to have you on with us. Kelly is our first guest for tonight, and he is a K&N Pro Series West driver. He also drives in the Canadian Tire Series, and he does super late models. He races super late models as well. And I noticed, Kelly, when I was reading up about all the different kinds of racing that you do, that one of the things you do is ice racing.
Yeah, it's just, up here in Canada, we have really long winters and it gets really cold. And so basically, we go ice racing to pass the time in between race seasons. And, we just go out there on a lake in little 1980 Chevettes and rip around on there. And, it's a lot of fun. But it's really cold, but it's fun to be out there sliding around.
It sounds like you'd really be slipping and sliding everywhere on the ice, and you want to make sure that it's heavy enough to hold a car too, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Up in Canada, you probably don't have to worry about that.
Actually, this year it was a little bit mild. And so, the ice wasn't thick enough at some times, and we actually didn't get out this year. We were busy, and also when we could, the ice wasn't ready yet. So I think we need like 18 inches of ice to be able to race on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. And then also, Kelly, I know you do racing, but you are in a family that races. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I guess how it all started out is our parents, brought us to the track when we were little. And you know what? The first time we got there, we fell in love with it. And so what my brothers did is they started out junior drag racing when they were 8 years old, and they're both older than me, and so growing up watching them race, it really fueled my passion even more, having them racing. But when it was time for me to start, getting in a car, I took a different path than them. I started on the dirt in the outlaw karts, and it's really nice having brothers and family members that are involved in racing. It allows for some great competition, and it really brings the family together. We spend a lot of time together, working on the cars and going out to the track every weekend, and it's really been awesome.
Well, I know Ian is one of your brothers, and he pretty much runs Admiral Racing for the whole team. And I'm not sure what was the name of your other brother that races?
My other brother's name is Teo. He doesn't race anymore. But he did the junior dragster program right up until he was 16.
Oh, okay. But they're the ones who kind of inspired you to get into racing. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And we were always watching the races, the NASCAR races on TV every Sunday, and and then having them, start racing and going out to the track. Well, I mean, as a little kid, that's all I wanted to do is I wanted to go fast.
and you certainly do that in these cars. So
yeah. Yeah.
Now on the line with us, Kelly, we also have Sal Segala, who writes for 3 Wide and 1 to Go, and then one of our Fan4Racing writers, and he also has his own website, Turn4 News, is Jason. And I'm just going to ask if, Sal, do you have any questions for Kelly?
Yeah, how you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, you know what? I also happen to be the team photographer for the Can-Am West Series for Admiral Racing. I picked up the job this year, so it's been exciting. It was an exciting time out there Saturday night actually Saturday all day when I covered the race for them in Phoenix. But Kelly, what is the biggest thing you see difference in racing, in Canada as to racing out here in the United States?
The biggest difference for me is got to be the car count and just the sheer talent. The racing isn't as big up here in Canada, and so we have a wide range of cars and drivers, and then we go down to the States, and we're trying to compete down there in a very competitive series, and it's really just amazing how talented every single driver is down in the States. I mean, it's not to say that we don't have talent back up in Canada, but just to have such a concentration of it down in the States has been one really big difference, as well as the equipment. It seems like there's a lot more R&D for racing equipment down in the States, and that really shows.
There's one driver that comes to mind, which is DJ Kennington, who's also a Canadian-based driver, and he's done pretty well out here in the States. He's done pretty well up there in Canada. Have you ever met DJ, and has he ever kind of helped you, as far as making the transition from racing in Canada to racing out here in the States?
You know what? I actually haven't been able to really meet with and talk with DJ Kennington, but basically he's just led by example for me. I mean, watching him on TV. I mean, last year he had an incredible season in the Canadian Tire Series, and then to see him come down to the States and still be just as competitive. It just, he's just doing the best that he can, and he's got some of the best equipment. And, I guess I'm just, looking at him and, trying to almost measure myself off of him and, see where I need to be and how he's making that transition.
When I see the team that you guys have put together, with the crew, especially when you're talking about Craig Rodman, who is who's probably one of the top crew chiefs from out here. And then, you have Dave Reed as a spotter, and between Dave and Craig, I mean, you got years and years and years of experience, behind your belt. I mean, does that give you any kind of a, like a little boost, especially, when you're coming in? The first race of the season was at Phoenix. It was on a mile track, which is a tough track to begin with, for the series. And actually, it's the biggest track that you guys will visit this year, minus Sonoma, which will be a road course.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. This was our first race with Craig Rodman and Dave Reed, and I mean, I can't say enough about Craig Rodman as a crew chief. I mean, I'd have to agree with you. He's definitely one of the best crew chiefs out there in the K&N Pro Series, if not the best. And that's a bit of a confidence boost for me, knowing that, I got his experience and his talent behind me, and it really shows in our equipment, and it showed in our practice times and how we were doing in the race. And then Dave Reed, I mean, he's been around racing for so long, and having him as my spotter was just such a blessing. That was such a great opportunity. I mean, going out there for the first practice session, not being in a car for 4 or 5 months, and first race of the season, Dave Reed really helped me get my feet back under me and really get after it in practice. And I mean, everything he said when I was out on the track, just it made sense, and he really helped me. And so that definitely gave me a bit more confidence going into the race, just knowing that I have these incredible guys behind me and supporting me. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
Now, we also have Jason on the line with us, and I think he has a question for you as well. But I also want to remind listeners that if you have questions for Kelly Admiraal, we would like for you to give us a call so that you can ask your question, and he'll answer it for you. The telephone number to call in is 347-996-5176. And with that, I'm going to go on to Jason. Jason, did you have any questions?
Yes, I did. Kelly, I was wondering what has been your favorite memory so far in your career?
My favorite memory, for me, it's got to be Las Vegas, their open show in the fall there last year that we went to. I mean, we're Canadians coming up here, and our crew chief was Steve Graham, who was a phenomenal super late model crew chief, and just because we went out there and we went out there with just the pure intent to have fun and to go out there and compete, and that's exactly what we got out of it. We qualified 16th, which wasn't exactly the qualifying effort we were looking for, but I mean, we were having fun with it and we were working on the car, and then come race time, we were just making our way up towards the front, and I think we made it up to 5th or 4th or something there. Ended up blowing a motor, but that must have been one of the best times I had at a track. I mean, the Las Vegas track, the bull ring there is such a phenomenal facility, and yeah, I had a lot of fun, and it was incredible, really.
Now, Kelly, you also mentioned that you and your family watch the NASCAR races when you get a chance. Do you have favorite drivers that you follow?
Me personally, my favorite driver ever since I was a little kid, as long as I can remember, has been Jeff Gordon. Yeah, I mean, I love him. He's a great inspiration for me, as well as Jimmy Johnson. I know it's a little cliche, but the Hendrick guys, all of them, they're great. And so, yeah, definitely for me, favorite driver of mine is Jeff Gordon. I know my brothers don't really agree with me on that one, but
that just makes it more interesting, right, when you're watching the race?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, we can bicker back and forth about whose driver's doing better, and yeah, it gives us a lot to talk about and a lot more to cheer for.
Now, did you see the race this past weekend yet?
I did. I caught the last half of it.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a pretty exciting half. that
was
half
some
of the race.
Reason. Yeah.
It definitely was. And I just realized I know Denny Hamlin was hurt at the end of that race, and I was just reading that he actually had a compression fracture of his first lumbar. So he's going to be kind of tied up for a little while. He may not be racing the next race, so it may be a while before he'll be back in the car.
Well, that's that's something we all fear is when we're out there running so hard, is to be in those positions where we get wrecked hard, and that's really disheartening to hear that Denny Hamlin has that injury. I hadn't heard any updates on him. Just I knew that he was okay, but I really want to see him out at Martinsville at the next race. And I mean, when guys like that are out there running hard, it's going to happen. I know Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano got quite the rivalry going on, which it gets a little colorful at times. But I mean, I think it's great for the fans. Really, it makes great entertainment. But it's just a shame to hear that Denny Hamlin was hurt.
Well, the thought that kind of went through my mind, though, too, is thank goodness they've put so many safety features into place, because that could have been one it could have been much, much worse without all the safety features that they have in place. So we're really thankful that NASCAR is very diligent about those kind of things. And as bad as it sounds, to have a compression fracture of the third lumbar, it's still great that they have so many safety features and that it wasn't worse.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, NASCAR and all racing bodies are constantly working to make us as the drivers and the fans even safer. And it's really showed in the last 10 years just how far we've come and just how big of improvements have been made with the safer barrier and the new harness systems and the HOMS device. And it truly is incredible that Denny Hamlin could be subjected to such a bad crash, and to be able to walk away with that injury is truly a blessing, and just goes to show just how far we've come in the past 10 years safety-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Sal, did you have anything else?
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, you know what? Speaking of Denny's, accident, you know what? You yourself took a pretty hard hit in Phoenix when the 29 car came up on you, and you got a little bit airborne, kind of hurt the car a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your experience when that part of the race happened. How did it feel, and how are you feeling today?
Well, that was probably one of the harder impacts that I've been in my career so far. I mean, I'll walk you through what I saw. Coming out of 4 there, the sun was right in our eyes, and we really couldn't see much. We could barely see the wall, the outside wall. And I don't know what happened to the 29 car Dallas Montez if he had a tire going down, but he hit the outside wall really hard, and by the time he bounced off the wall and I had time to react, it was too late, and we made contact. And next thing I know, I'm looking up at the sky and then slamming back down on the ground and just trying to hold on and keep it off the inside wall. And that kind of impact, that side impact, and then going up into the air and landing back down, that was something that was honestly a little bit scary, for it to all just happen so fast. It was a shame that the cars that did get collected in it, that they did. I know Dallas Montez was running really well, really strong. He's a great driver, and he didn't. That team didn't deserve the race to end that way. And same with David Mayhew and those guys, and they were making a great run. I know they had pit there that last caution, and they were making their way back up, and they were really fast. And for us, our team, I felt bad for my crew chief Craig Rodman and for Cal Catanaugh back in the shop. They gave us a great car, and it was really fast. And we didn't have a great qualifying run, but I think we were one of the fastest cars on the track, and we were making our way up, and I was coming up to pass Montez for 10th place when that happened.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's got to be frustrating.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just one of those things that happens, and that we got to learn to accept and not let that really hinder us going into the next race. We can take a lot actually from that race. We know we were fast, and we know we were competitive. We were just wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. So, Jason, did you have any other questions?
I didn't have any questions.
Okay. Sal?
Yeah, Kelly, what does the rest of your schedule look like as far as the K&N West Series this season?
The K&N West season, I think we're only running about 5 more races. We have a really select schedule this year. But yeah, we're running a road course and a few ovals, and then we'll be back at Phoenix, which I'm really excited about. And I'm also really excited to go to Sonoma with the K&N Pro Series and do one of my first road course races ever with them in that series. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, also going back to New Mexico and then going to Bakersfield, I think that's going to be a great race and a race that everyone should watch. I think there's going to be some really good racing that we'll see over there. Yeah, I'm really excited about this season.
And you're racing the Canadian Tire Series as well, so you'll probably be in the race when NASCAR comes up there, right?
Actually, I won't be in that one because we're out west, and that race, the NASCAR race that comes up to Canada, is way out east, and so we're running the races close to home in Vernon, Saskatoon. Yeah.
Kelly, you want to tell us a little bit about your sponsor? Your sponsor is really, I mean, when I first signed on with the team to do the photography, I always do background, a little bit of background, on the driver and the sponsor. And I think your parents, they really have a really neat sponsorship package set up. But I mean, just actually what they actually do, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Western Camp Services are our sponsor for that race in Phoenix. Western Camp Services is owned by my father, company that he runs. And we've always had Western Camp Services on the car, but out there at Phoenix, it was the first time ever we got to have Western Camp Services as the primary sponsor, and which was great for us, and it was great for Western Camp Services. It was a good opportunity for us to get the company the publicity they needed, and to really show just how thankful we are of their support throughout our entire racing career.
Kelly, when you think about it, there ain't too many teams, that are, sure, most of the teams are family oriented. There's a few I can think about, but I mean, it was amazing just to see the support that your family showed for you when I was out there. All the family members that were there. Your dad, your brothers. Your mom, your stepmom. And when I took that group picture, I was looking when I got home, and I was like, wow, I cannot believe how big this race team is.
Yeah, and you know what? Half of them, it looked like in the photo that half of them were my family, and that is such a blessing for me to have, and it's such a great opportunity because not many teams are able to go to the track and have their entire family there in the pits with them every weekend, and we've had that opportunity, and it's so great to be surrounded by the ones I love and to be supported by them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And your dad knew right away. He's got 3 boys that are into racing. It probably made sense for him to go ahead and sponsor you guys, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, now, you said that you are going to be, you also race the super late models. Do you notice that much difference? Is there a lot of difference between the 3 series that you race, like between the K&N Pro Series, the Canadian Tire Series, and the super late models?
Honestly, all 3 of those cars are completely different animals. The super late model is a lot lighter, and the super late models actually turn, unlike the big heavy K&N cars, and they brake a lot better. And but the K&N cars, you got such a heavy car with such power, and it's a weird animal to get used to, because you gotta slow the car down a lot more, and you really have to let it roll through the corners, and you can't really be mean to it. You really gotta be nice to it, and you gotta take care of it. Yeah, and then the K&N car, the Canadian Tire cars, they're similar to a K&N car, but they're just not quite as advanced. They don't have all the little bells and whistles that the K&N cars have. So, they are a little bit more similar and a little bit easier to transition into rather than going from a super late model to a K&N car. But yeah, all 3 of them, they're definitely a lot different from each other.
So is that a hard adjustment to make for you when you get into the car, or is it like riding a bike once you go from one car to the next? Do you have to make a lot of adjustments for yourself?
The first couple times that I had to make that transition, it was definitely a struggle. But now, yeah, like you said, it's like riding a bike. Once you get in it and you're comfortable in it, every time you get back in that car, you can drive it and you can feel it out just the same way as before when you're going back and forth between cars. And that was definitely a huge struggle for us last season. But now with a little bit more seat time and a little bit more experience, definitely not as big of a struggle as it was before.
Oh, okay, but it is something that a newer driver would definitely need to go through as part of their learning curve kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. Sal?
Yeah, Kelly, you know what? Me and your brother Ian were talking about the IHRA drag racing series up there, and it's funny because he made mention that the NHRA down here, we're kind of teasing because, they only go 1,000 feet ever since the Scotty Coletta wreck a few years ago, the NHRA lowered it. And I guess IHRA up there, they run the full quarter mile. Have you ever piloted one of the IHRA cars that you guys run up there?
I have, not the big cars. I drove a junior dragster for 2 years, where we just go to the 8th mile. Basically, we ran that because we had the car, and it was just more racing for me to do, and it was really good that I had that opportunity. We ended up winning a national event up there in that car. And, I mean, I love drag racing for all it is, but I love to turn left. And I love, I like all that action. So, yeah, I definitely do love drag racing, but I think I'm going to stick with the stock car racing.
By the way, how much road experience do you have? Because I know you mentioned that you're going to be racing Sonoma up here, which will be, I think that race is in June.
I don't have much road experience at all. We ran the Edmonton Indy with the Canadian Tire Series last year, but we were having problems with the car all weekend, and only got 7 laps of practice in, and then we had an electronic fail on the car with 3 laps into the race, and which ended our day. And so that's really all the road experience that I have. So it's definitely going to be interesting going to Sonoma and then racing in the K&N Series on a road course. I know we're gonna be doing some testing in some other cars there just to get myself more comfortable on the road course and on that track. 'Cause I know it's a really tricky track with the elevation changes that it has. But I'm definitely comfortable and confident that we'll be able to be competitive there at Sonoma.
Now, Kelly, are any of your brothers, are any of them Kyle Busch fans?
Not really, actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
one of our family friends is.
I'm sorry?
That comes over to watch one of our family friends that watches the races with us every weekend is a Kyle Busch fan, though.
Oh, okay. So I bet he was doing a little bit of bragging this weekend, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I kept hearing it.
Because Kyle Busch swept the races, both the nationwide race and the Sprint Cup race this weekend out in California. And it was actually the first time that Toyota ran. Or not ran, it was the first time that they won out in California. So that was a pretty big accomplishment for them. So
yeah, that was awesome. I mean, I love Kyle Busch. I think he's definitely one of the best drivers in the sport, and it was really nice to see him sweep the weekend. I mean, he really deserved that win on Sunday in the Cup Series. We're leading 120-some laps, and then to be able to get a win for Toyota in the Nationwide Series, that was incredible, and I think that was a great driver to do it for Toyota.
Mm-hmm. Now, we do have another caller on the line. You're on the air with Fan4Racing. Your name, and do you have a question? You're on the air with Fan4Racing. Do you have a question for Kelly? Okay, we lost that caller. I apologize. I thought maybe they had a question. Okay, I'm still trying to find out who your brothers are pulling for. Are any of them Logano or Stewart fans?
No, actually.
Or Hamlin?
Ian is a Casey Kane fan, and then my brother Teo is a Jimmy Johnson fan.
Okay.
Yeah, and so nobody really in my family is Logano fans, but we all do love Stewart. I think that's someone that a lot of people do like, and a lot of people are fans of
Tony Stewart. So
yeah.
Tony Stewart was a little bit hot under his collar this weekend.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, seeing how upset he was. I mean, I don't think Joey Logano did anything wrong there at the end. The fact of the matter is that they're all out there trying to win the race, and a lot of those guys up there at the front on that restart, they all had an equal shot at winning that race, and Joey Logano was just doing what he had to do to win the race. And, I know Tony Stewart's no stranger to throwing a block either.
I don't know what that was. Okay. We do have our caller back on the line with us. You're on the air with Fan4Racing.
Hi, it's Dawn Murphy calling in.
Oh, hi, Dawn. Dawn Murphy is a radio personality. She has her own radio show called Track Smack. And I don't know if you've heard our conversation, Dawn, but we have Kelly Admiraal on the line with us tonight. Did you have any questions for him?
I just actually got in, and I heard y'all talking about the Joey Logano deal towards the end, and so I was just kind of listening just to kind of hear. It sounded like his take is a little kind of like pretty much everyone else's, that it looked like a pretty clean racing deal, so I just was finishing listening to it.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Yeah, we were just commenting, that, and I agree with what Kelly said, too, that it didn't seem to me that Logano really did anything wrong there. I think he was protecting his position, which I think any driver, including Stewart, probably would have done in the same situation. So I'm a little puzzled why. Well, I know why he's upset. I know he's had kind of a rough season. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to add to that conversation?
Yeah, I just not much about Stewart, but I just want to give a shout out to Kyle Busch, who had a dominant weekend, and he really deserved that win at the end. He just lost the lead at the end, and he just came back, and in Kyle Busch fashion, he took the lead again, and he took the checkered flag again.
That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was really exciting.
Did you have any comment that you wanted to add to the Stewart-Logano conversation?
I don't really have an opinion towards that, because I'm not a big fan of either driver, so I don't really know what to say regarding the situation.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Sal, what about you?
First off, hi, Don. How you doing?
Hey, good, Sal. Thanks.
Thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely.
I was at the race. I was covering the race this year, and like I do actually every year. You know what? And I just think Stewart was way out of line with the comments. He was way out of line with the way he acted. I mean, of course, everybody always points back to what happened at Talladega last year, but let's not forget what happened Saturday night when he was up in Chico, California, racing a sprint car, and he nudged another driver to try and get the win, which I'm sure he quickly forgot about come Sunday. And actually, a couple media members asked him about the incident last year after, because as soon as a fight broke out, Tony runs to his hauler like he normally does, and he hides out. Well, he finally came out. He had no choice. There's 5 or 10 of us there waiting for him to come out. He came out and he started ripping on Joey, and of course, his F-bomb tirade laced interview, that couldn't be published, most of it, then he calmed down and then he gave a good interview. But, they asked him, what happened at Talladega last year? Well, I apologize for it, and he was kind of trying to get around the thing, that what happened at Talladega last year, it was okay because he's Tony Stewart, but it wasn't okay because this is Joey Logano, and I mean, when I seen it all transpire and I seen the aftermath of it, I was like, come on, Tony, you're a lot bigger than this. I mean, you're a lot older. You're a lot more of a veteran. I mean, we see what happened between Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon at Phoenix last year, and we seen the way they handled it afterwards. They got that little scuffle. You know what? They had their worst to say. But, I mean, to Tony actually say the things he said about Joey, seriously, from a veteran, 3-time champion, that was really childish.
And team owner.
But
oh,
yeah,
I forgot team owner.
And so, you know what, though? It shouldn't surprise you, though, because we've seen this song and dance before. I mean, we've seen it every time Tony has struggled. When Tony's on top, Tony is in Tony's world, and, he'll take some shots at Jimmy Johnson, or he'll take some shots at someone else who, does something that he feels, kind of ruffles his feathers, but for the most part, it's all right. But, he's sitting here with his driver in 20th spot, and him in 22nd, and then Danica in 29th, and quite frankly, the only positive that Stewart Haas has had going for them this season has been Danica's pole run. That's it. And, other than that, and what cracks me up the most is him really getting to show what side of him, I want to say, because the fact of the matter is then he's going to complain that somebody throws a water bottle. I've been in the infield before in the garage area where I've seen Tony throw his Hans device. I've seen him throw helmets. I've seen him throw all kinds of stuff. And then to complain that Joey's the one that's a tough guy with all his crew around him. Well, if you go back and look at the video, there's one crew member that was already standing at the car with Joey working on getting the radio and stuff disconnected when Tony decided to bum rush him up there. Then the only other guys that are all around Tony are Danica's team guys trying to hold Tony back. So what cracks me up is he's sitting here complaining that Joey is the tough guy with everyone around him, yet it was Tony with the majority of the guys there.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of funny that he brought up that water bottle, too, because not only has he thrown various and assorted things, but wasn't it Tony Stewart that threw a water bottle at the media?
Oh, yeah.
He's criticizing for Joey for doing things that he has obviously done, and we all know that. So I don't get why he's thinking he's fooling anybody, because like you said, Dawn, we've seen this from him before. I just thought he had gotten past all that.
And then his big complaint was because somebody was spoon-fed and brought into the series with money. Well, guess what? That spoon-fed kid is ahead of you right now in points. So, obviously he's doing something right.
He's doing something right. Exactly right.
You know what? And actually, you got to take your hat off to Joey for standing up to not only Tony but to Danny last week. I mean, I was talking to a friend today. We were talking about the incident. And I said, you know what? The best move that Joey ever made was getting out of that Joe Gibbs organization and getting with the driver that has the nuts to actually, take down single-handedly NASCAR, which is Brad Keselowski last year. I mean, Brad didn't let nobody stand in his way. Brad was focused. And I'm thinking that during the offseason that Brad probably told Joey, you know what, dude, you need to have some nuts, and you know what, you need to stand up for yourself, because the only way you're going to get a win, the only way you're going to get a championship is you have to go out there, you got to take it, because these guys they're not going to give it. And you know what? And as long as you want to play the give and take game with them, they're going to keep taking and taking. And there's got to come a time when you have to stand up for yourself the same way Brad did. And you know what? And you got to show NASCAR, hey, I'm here. You know what? I'm not going to take your crap anymore. You know what? I'm going to stand up for myself. And if that means throwing punches, if it means whatever I have to do, going after you, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Go ahead, Dawn.
I don't know if you guys have talked about it or not, but I'm curious to see, too, how NASCAR penalizes this. Because, again, this situation puts NASCAR in the pickle that they don't want to be in, because they cater to the fans, and they cater to us, which is what we wanted. We want the boys have, our guys have at it. We want that back. We want the drama. We need a good guy and a bad guy. We need a heel and a baby face. That's what, that's what makes this world go around nowadays, is the reality kind of TV, drama of it all. But with that said, if they don't do something, you've already got a driver in the hospital, or, having to go to the hospital. Where does it go from here? There's got to be something that's put down, but then how does NASCAR penalize itself for basically saying, have at it, boys?
Yeah. Well, they say if there is going to be a penalty, we'll hear about it tomorrow sometime. Kelly, did you have anything you wanted to add to the conversation here?
Yeah, just on the last note there about, I guess, whether or not NASCAR is going to penalize any driver for that incident there on the last lap. Personally, I feel that, did the emotions get the best of him, like Joey Logano? Yeah, but, I mean, it looked to me like he was trying to win it, and, he drove it into 3 there a little too hard. And it was just really unfortunate that he had that rivalry with Denny Hamlin, and that it had been Denny Hamlin beside him there. I don't think that he really deserves much of a penalty, if any at all, just because that is racing, and NASCAR either has to change their rule of boys have at it, or I think that he shouldn't have a penalty.
Well, I think the one they're thinking about penalizing is Tony Stewart.
Absolutely, and he better be penalized at least $25,000, which Dale Jr. was penalized, a few years back in the middle of a celebratory victory lane deal, and let's the S word slip, and he got penalized, 25 points and $25,000, and that better be the same exact, at least that. Because and Kurt Busch last season with his deal, and they penalized him, so they've got to at least uphold that because it was live TV, and he just, decided to.
And he did not hold back.
Poor Steve Burns, got the brunt of it. But
yeah, Tony did not hold back in that interview, and he didn't hold back, to Sal's point, even when the media, they had to go through a kind of a cooling off period there before they were able to get a decent interview out of the guy because he just was going on and on. It's just that I think Tony should be beyond that. I really think he should be beyond that. I had really thought that when he became a team owner that he had a different perspective and that he was going to, we just weren't going to see that from him. But to your point, Dawn, I do think that it's a frustrating year for the team. He felt like Joey took that away from him. I really, a good finish for the day, and I really don't see it that way, but that's Stewart's perspective, and I don't know. I'm just still amazed that we saw that from him, and I understand what Dawn's saying. We've seen it from him before. We shouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I just thought he had evolved to a different place.
Here's what happened with Tony. Tony got pissed off because Joey pulled one of his moves on him, and it wasn't Tony that pulled it on Joey. Joey pulled it first. Tony got pissed off and didn't know how to react. So what does he do? He went back to his typical Tony Stewart ways when he first came into the series. And Tony, every year, has at least had one blow-up over another driver. So I think what happened was, bottom line is that Tony didn't get to pull the move first, and Joey beat him to it, and he ended up where he ended up, and he's got no one to blame but himself.
Well, now let me ask this question: do you think we'll see an apology?
No.
No, and I say that, and to Sal's point, and Kelly, you may remember this too. I want to say it was 2 years ago, I think, if you think about it, and a lot of people are reacting, well, Tony Stewart, the owner, he's more mature. No, he's not. The first season of owning Stewart-Haas, if you remember, there was a dirt track incident where Tony Stewart, as an owner, is out of the dirt track and doesn't like a call that an official made and walked over to the official and yanked his headset off of the official's head and chunked it and threw a temper tantrum right there. So this is not the first time we've seen Tony Stewart show his ass as a car owner or a driver, and it won't be the last time.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dawn. Now, we do have another caller on the line. You're on the air with Fan4Racing. Area code 702, you're on the air with Fan4Racing.
Hey, this is Dylan Kozeski. I meant to call in earlier, but got my phone dead.
Dylan, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, we were missing you there, Dylan. But I'm glad you were able to call in.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm stuck in California. My phone actually died, but I got back, and I saw that. I missed my time, but I'm glad to be with you guys.
Okay, we're talking with Dylan Kwasniewski. He is a K&N Pro Series East driver, He won the championship last year in the West Series for K&N Pro Series, and he's coming into this year, and he's going for that championship on the east side now. And he just recently won out in Bristol, one of the toughest tracks on the circuit here. So I'm just going to go around our round table here and see if anyone has any questions for you. I'm going to start with Kelly. Kelly, we've really appreciated your time with us tonight, and I know we've taken you way beyond what we originally talked about, but I really appreciate you being on. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask Dylan Kwasniewski?
Yeah, I did. First off, yeah, thank you for having me on tonight. I really appreciate this. So, Dylan, for you running in the West Series and winning the championship last year, how was it transferring over into the East, and what was the biggest difference that you noticed between the two series?
You know, the biggest difference I thought was definitely getting used to the new tracks. I mean, Bristol is obviously a whole different animal than the stuff that we ran on the West Coast. So coming out to Bristol and getting on a track that historic with that much banking and speed, it definitely took a little bit to get acclimated, but, you know, we definitely took to it pretty quick, and we did a pretty good job out there in Bristol. So I'm glad that I took the first win for Turner Scott Motorsports, and hopefully there's more to come.
Right on. I just want to wish you luck for the rest of this season, man. Good luck to you, and yeah, I'll be rooting for you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us tonight. We really appreciated your time, too. We really learned a lot, and we hope you'll consider coming back on the show with us sometime.
Yeah, me too. I look forward to it.
Okay. Take care, Kelly.
You too.